The Italian hired assassin draws his stiletto. Mussolini waits until France is reeling under the blows of Germany to stab her in the back. There are few parallels in history to so shameless an act of treachery. But the immediate task is to confound the two tyrants who before, during and since Munich have conspired against the liberties of mankind. Britons like the Italians personally. Particularly, they have a friendly feeling for the Italian royal family, whose influence was understood to be against the war. But it would be a mistake to assume that the Italian people and army are opposed to Mussolini's action. The truth is that Italian feelings will be determined by the course of the war. Italians are now for the first time our enemies, and in Soho, friendly little restaurants decide to remove evidence of their nationality. Down come the Italian signs, and those concerns which, though run by British proprietors, have boasted their Italian cooking, are quick to publicize their true ownership. 1 or 2 panes of glass have suffered overnight, but these are probably the outcome of some private grudge in a neighborhood where rivalries run high. In the meanwhile, we should be wise to take the Italian Navy seriously and appreciate that Italy's army contains some good troops. No advantage is ever achieved by underrating your enemy, however much we may despise his motives. Lord Gort's appearance in London is the best sign that the evacuation of the BEF from Flanders has been virtually completed. For be sure that its lion-hearted commander would have remained with his troops had there existed any anxiety for the outcome of the great withdrawal. More cheering evidence of the success of this amazing military exploit is the presence in Britain of large numbers of French soldiers brought back with their British comrades under cover of the Navy. They are showered with hospitality and find the tea of old England almost as refreshing as their familiar coffee. Enjoying an unexpected seaside holiday, they bask in the sun, awaiting orders to return to France. The story of that epic withdrawal will live in history, both as a glorious example of discipline and as a monument to sea power. Sailing with one of the relieving vessels, we pass ship after ship, packed with men whom the long arm of the Royal Navy has brought off the beaches of Dunkirk. Every kind of small craft, destroyers, paddle steamers, yachts, motorboats, rowing boats, have sped here to the burning ruins of Dunkirk to bring off the gallant British and French troops betrayed by the desertion of the Belgian king. The Germans had proclaimed in their communiques that the British and French armies of the north were facing annihilation. They had announced that their Nazi dive bombers would deal with any attempt to withdraw by sea. The dive bombers certainly did their utmost to embarrass the movement, but once again Hitler had underrated the power of the Royal Navy. The Royal Air Force too, operating out of sight of the soldiers, was bringing down Nazi planes and hampering the advance of the German army. Here, in these scenes off the beaches of Dunkirk, you have one of the dramatic pictures of the war. Men wading out to a vessel beached at low tide, its crew waiting to haul them aboard. Occasional German planes may fleck the sky, but where was the German Navy? Of Nazi sea power there was little trace, and the Royal Navy once again achieved the miraculous and crowned the Army's gallant feat of endurance. Following the Chinese nationalist expulsion from China, the threat to Formosa, the long drawn-out battles in Malaya, Indochina, communist attacks, in fact, throughout Southeast Asia, there comes open aggression in Korea. Here, the Russian-dominated North Koreans launched a full-scale, well-prepared drive on the capital of the South, Seoul. The peaceful southern democracy was taken by surprise by this communist blitzkrieg, culmination of red aims in the Far East that are perfectly clear for all to see. It is tragic indeed that war should strike the South Korean people so recently recovered from Japanese occupation and ill treatment. In 1948, they had held their first elections under the United Nations, and they were beginning to settle down in spite of the threat from the North. Soon afterwards, a visit by General MacArthur was warmly welcomed by President Syngman Rhee and the people. Now it's from MacArthur's command that the first help has come. South Korea's minister in London, Mr. Chi Chang-yun, seen with his family at the legation, made this early comment.
It is no local civil war, but it concerns with all the free-loving countries of the world. If it goes on without checked by the people of the world, it will endanger all the free nations in larger scale.
Since that interview, the peoples of the free world, acting under the United Nations, have given their answer, and the United States, in a swift, bold decision, has already gone into action. Air power first, with cover and support for South Korea. And sea power, with the 7th Fleet ordered to protect Formosa, together with reinforcements for the Philippines and more aid to French Indochina. Throughout the free world, these moves to halt the Reds are welcomed, whatever the consequences.
In sunshine and in rain, they had waited, some for almost 2 days. Right along the route, there were groups and parties, encampments and picnics, for they were all determined to see. Nothing was going to stop them getting a good place. Prince Charles was obviously up early to have a look too. And now, Her Majesty, looking radiant in her wonderful gown, leaves the palace. In a moment, with her husband by her side, she will be driving out on her way to Coronation, past the biggest and most enthusiastic crowds London has ever known. Princess Anne, Prince Charles, soon to go to the Abbey himself, waves to his mother. This was the moment for which so many had patiently waited. Here she comes, dramatic, thrilling, magnificent. Tens of thousands take up the cheering, cheers of loyalty, admiration and affection for our young and lovely Queen on this, her day of days. Along the Mall, that royal route, bright with its graceful arches of triumph and of promise. Through Admiralty Arch to Trafalgar Square. Never had so many people from Britain and from overseas gathered to witness so dazzling an event. Down on the embankment, a special place had been reserved for 30,000 children to see and cheer. The Queen had a special smile for them, for indeed they will be the new Elizabethans. Now the Queen approaches the place where Edward the Confessor founded a shrine nearly 1,000 years ago. She comes in state to be invested with all the symbols of majesty and to dedicate herself anew to the service of her subjects. At the annex, the Duke of Norfolk, the Earl Marshal, awaits to receive his sovereign before the coronation service, a service of historic ritual and great solemnity.
I was glad when they said unto me, we will go into the house of the Lord. To the music of the 122nd Psalm, the Queen passes through the nave, and the cry of Vivat comes from scholars of Westminster School. Her Majesty moves into the theatre, where her mother, her sister, and the peers of the realm, including her husband, are already assembled, and takes her seat in the chair of estate. Now, the first and necessary step in the traditional ritual, the Queen must be accepted by the people.
I here present unto you Queen Elizabeth, your undoubted Queen. Wherefore all you who are come this day to do your homage and service, are you willing to do the same?
The people, having recognized the Queen, the Archbishop administers the coronation oath.
Madam, is your Majesty willing to take the oath?
I am willing.
Will you solemnly promise and swear to govern the peoples of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the Union of South Africa, Pakistan, and Ceylon, and of your possessions and the other territories to any of them belonging or pertaining, according to their respective laws and customs?
I solemnly promise so to do.
The Bible, on which the Queen has taken her oath and sealed it with a kiss, is presented to her for the first time by the moderator of the Church of Scotland.
Here is wisdom, this is the royal law, these are the lively oracles of God.
The anointing takes place under a canopy of cloth of gold, for this part of the ceremony is withheld even from the eyes of those present. When the congregation again see their Queen, the character of this consecration is symbolized by her vestments resembling those of a priest. These, the colobium sindonis and supertunica, envelop her as she returns to receive the spurs of chivalry which the Lord Great Chamberlain presents to her. The sword of state being too big to wield, another sword representing it is delivered to the Queen. She rises and carries it to the altar in token of submission of her authority to God. The armills or bracelets, a gift from governments of the Commonwealth countries, are put upon the Queen's wrists. And then the majestic emblem, the golden robe royal, is placed around her shoulders. The orb, which is the symbol of the dominion of the cross over the world, is presented to her. The ring is slipped over the fourth finger of the Queen's right hand as a seal of Catholic faith. Lord Walton offers the glove. The scepter with the cross in the Queen's right hand stands for power and justice. The rod with the dove in her left for equity and mercy. One emblem still remains to be given to the Queen, the one that symbolizes monarchy in the eyes of all the people. The Archbishop lifts the crown of St. Edward and holds it for a moment above the Queen's head. As he gently lowers it, a great shout is raised from the congregation. The word has gone forth. The Queen is crowned. The newly crowned Queen moves now from King Edward's chair to mount her throne, which is set back in the middle of the theatre. Having made her promises to her people, it is the turn of her people to make their promises of allegiance to her. And among the first to declare himself is her own husband, Philip, Duke of Edinburgh.
I, Philip, will become your liege man of life and limb, and of earthly worship. In faith and truth I will bear unto you, to live and die against all manner of folk, so help me God.
Rising, he kisses the Queen's cheek and touches the Queen's crown in token of his readiness to help her bear its burden. After him comes the Queen's uncle, the Duke of Gloucester. Homage is likewise paid by the senior peer in each degree, swearing faith and truth to bear unto the Queen, to live and die against all manner of folks. The whole ceremony has been enacted within the framework of a communion service. And now the Queen leaves her throne to take the sacrament. This is not to be photographed, but in humility and piety, she draws near to the altar in company with her husband. And so the ceremony ended. After a short pause, places are taken for the procession from the Abbey. The Queen, now arrayed in royal purple and wearing the imperial state crown, leaves the chapel. The scepter in her right hand and in her left hand the orb, Queen Elizabeth passes from the Abbey, consecrated and dedicated to her life work by the solemn and time-hallowed ritual of coronation. The troops marching ahead in the great procession that followed the coronation service were indeed a splendid sight to see. All the services were represented, and there were superlatively smart and loyal units from all over the Commonwealth and Empire. Nearly 40,000 servicemen and women played their part on Coronation Day. Meanwhile, after a brief rest at Westminster Abbey, Her Majesty is about to join the procession round the heart of her capital. Carrying orb and scepter and wearing the imperial state crown, she enters the golden coach again. Every yard of the way, the sincerity of the great ovation offered by her people must have been fully apparent. The crowd certainly numbered millions, and there was no one who could fail to be moved and thrilled as the Queen and the Duke approached and drove by. There was only one fault to find with this tremendous day, the weather, and that indeed behaved shamefully. But driving rain that would normally have sent everyone scurrying to shelter was completely ignored. Just look how it pelted as the coach entered the park and passed Apsley House. From the park, through Marble Arch, and so to Oxford Street. London had done its very best to be worthy of so joyful an occasion, with a splendid flourish of flags and flowers and emblems. Now to Piccadilly Circus, where Eros looked down from his gilded cage. As the Queen, surrounded on every side by love and respect, passed this famous centre, troops at the head of the procession were already circling the Queen Victoria monument at the palace. The royal journey was nearly ended, though everyone, of course, had waited for Her Majesty's return along the Mall. Coronation Day had indeed caught the imagination of people all over the world, but it was most particularly a day of rejoicing for Her Majesty's subjects. It was a day that surpassed expectations, and perhaps the magic of it was that our Queen is everything that we could wish a Queen to be. No holding back a Buckingham Palace crowd at moments such as this. They want a close-up, and they're always rewarding. Queen still wears the coronation bracelets, and to Prince Charles there's something new and curious. Then the flypast by Royal Air Force and Royal Canadian Air Force meteors and sabres. It's the day's final salute, except from the cheering throng. A wonderful day, and we pray that the Queen's reign will be glorious too.
Meine lieben Freunde, ihr seid hierhin gekommen, um den Präsidenten Kennedy zu hören. Und deswegen werde ich mich auf ganz wenige Sätze beschränken. I am proud come to this city as the guest of your distinguished mayor, who has symbolized throughout the world the fighting spirit of West Berlin. Two thousand years ago, the proudest boast was Civis Romanus Sum. Today, in the world of freedom, the proudest boast is Ich bin ein Berliner. There are many people in the world who really don't understand, or say they don't, what is the great issue between the free world and the communist world. Let them come to Berlin. There are some who say that communism is the wave of the future. Let them come to Berlin. There are some who say in Europe and elsewhere we can work with the communists. Let them come to Berlin. Freedom has many difficulties, and democracy is not perfect. But we have never had to put a wall up to keep our people in, to prevent them from leaving us. Real lasting peace in Europe can never be assured as long as one German out of 4 is denied the elementary right of free men, and that is to make a free choice. In 18 years of peace and good faith, this generation of Germans has earned the right to be free, including the right to unite their families and their nation in lasting peace with goodwill to all people.